So the first thing you need to do is you get a dynamic DDNS server for your DVR. So we'll come back in here and let's see. I'm just going to do a search here. Dynamic DDNS. And, you know, you can come in here and search, pick one. Most people just go ahead and use no IP. And you come in here and you can sign up for one. But you do need to have a DDNS domain that you will use for your DVR. You have to have an ID, a remote address. What this is going to do, it's going to keep track of your IP address, which, by the way, changes because your IP provider or your ISP is randomly changing your router address. So you must have a dynamic DDNS to be able to get to your DVR every time that changes, and they're going to do that for you. And that's what the purpose of this is. Okay, so we go in here and you need to do this on your router, and in most cases it's going to be this. Okay, so you log in, and what you need to do here is on this particular router you go to advanced, and you'll find out that over here you need to you don't need to do anything here. All right, now what you do need to do is you need to turn on this guy, which is port forwarding. You must do port forwarding on your router in order to be able to use DDNS. Okay, so that's the other thing. I don't know what kind of router you have. In this particular case, it's a Netgear, but you need to make sure that port forwarding is turned on. Here, this is dynamic DDNS. You don't need any of this. Okay, now this happens to be an old Swann H.264 device. These older devices you cannot access with the newer apps, and you have to use DDNS. So what you do is you come in here and you go into the network. You come back over here and you define the DDNS. You enable it, and you have different options here. Most people use no IP and they pay for it. Swann provides you their own server, and they allow you 4 IDs. Now this particular device here is using this one, and this is the login to the server to define those addresses. They allow you up to 4. So you define it and you test it here, and you're off. So to use the app, you must use the mobile port. If you don't use that, it's not going to work. So that's all you need to do on this device. On the router, I happen to have a Netgear router. I define port forwarding capable, and you have to go in there and you have to enable port forwarding, otherwise it is not going to work. Now some systems require you to have a separate ID, and here is one. I don't need to use this. I can use admin as well, but most devices, well, I don't know how many, but a lot of devices require you to have a separate user ID defined on the device, and this is mine. So those are the only two things on the DVR that you need to do. You must define the external address, and of course you have to get a server that has DDNS. No IP is the one that most people use. But again, Swann, if you have a Swann device, they'll let you use their server, and they allow you 4 separate addresses. No IP allows you, I think, 1, and I guess you have to pay for additional. Other ones out there, I mean, nothing's free out there. Only Swann and my Netgear that I know of. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay for it. But you have to use DDNS for older devices. There is no way out of it. Okay, now this is an older Chinese device. It's an H.264. It does not allow remote access, and the only way that you can have remote access is to use DDNS. So what you do is you come in here and you go into the main menu, and let me see, you define a user ID. And this device does not allow you to use admin as a user ID. You must define a separate ID on your device or DVR for you to be able to use remote access. But you have to define that. The other thing you must do is you come in here to, some devices have it in network, but this one has it in a separate location. You have to enable DDNS. You have to get the particular server that has your ID, and of course this is signed on to the server. But you have to get a separate external address in order to be able to access device, and you have to enable it. On your router, you must enable port forwarding, otherwise it's just not going to work. But those are the things that you need to do on your DVR. Now this is on an iPhone in a remote location. You can tell that by the Wi-Fi setting there. But what we use on this one is a Swann View Pro. And you come in here, and again, there's remote access, and there it is, using DDNS. Now in the configuration, you define the server, and the port. Now the address is the domain address that you created on the DDNS Dynamic DNS server. And of course the login here is admin, but sometimes it doesn't work. Now for this other device, we're using MyEye, and again this MI is similar to Swann. The configuration is exactly the same. Of course, this MI is just slightly slower than Swann, but then again, Swann is a very good device. Now, the device configuration, you just hit the little address over there, and again, the address is the domain address, and the port is the mobile port, media port on your DVR. And again, you have to have that port in here